Oh, hey, this is Charlie. In this screencast, I'm going to be showing you how to build a Hello World application which can be delivered on a USB and played on a Mac or Windows PC. Let me show you the finished product here by double-clicking on this Hello World. Alright, that brings it up in a little window. If I press Apple F, I can make that full screen. And it's a pretty simple program. All it does is respond to keystrokes. Any key you press will advance the playback to make the text Hello World show up. I'm going to hit Apple R to rewind the playback, show it again a little faster, and you can see I've got keys showing in this screencast. It stops when it stops. Any key that I press gives me Hello World. So let's get out of this and bring up Adobe Animate. Okay, here we have the finished product in Adobe Animate. I'm just going to show you, show you real quick what version I'm using here, I think. Maybe I won't, that's okay. About Animate, there we go. 2017.1, build 16.1. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is close this down. Close all. And just to start at File, New Project, what we want to make is an ActionScript 3.0 project. So from the main open screen on Animate CC, click ActionScript 3.0, and that brings up a blank canvas here, which we can start adding content to. Now on the right over here is your toolbar where you can add all sorts of things, rectangles, text. I'm mainly just using these two for this Hello World example. But if I use my text tool and just put some text on here, I should make it something that's not yellow. Black will show up a little better. Hello World. And then I've got this text in this layer, and there's one frame in this project, and that's basically the contents of a simple project. Now for this one, I'm going to close this down and I'm going to open up a better starter one. We don't need to save that. Let me open up one that I've added a few objects already. Called it Starter. And you can see I just have a title bar up here at the top. And down here in my timeline, there are 4 different layers. And I just wanted to show you that because you can mess around with adding this stuff and adding your own artwork. But this eyeball here can kind of give you an idea of toggling on the different objects in each layer. So that was the background. I've got a little J, got a title there that can toggle on and off, and a jargon logo there. So I'll put those all back on. And so that'll be my base. And then I'm going to build this up by adding another layer up top. You click on this little new layer icon in the bottom left. And I'll rename this layer Hello World. And while that Hello World layer is highlighted, I'm going to use the text tool here. Oops. Center that back up. Actually, let me make this fit to the window so we can see it a little better. And with the text tool, I'm just going to make a little box here, change my font to be a little bit bigger. 32 sounds good. And I'm going to type the text that I would like to show up at the end of this project. Alright, that looks good. I'm going to put another layer in here with just some instructions to the user. And I'll put those down here. I don't want the font so big for the instructions. Let's make that 16. Okay, those look good. We'll move those down a little bit by using the select tool and just placing those in the bottom. All right, now so now let's get to programming now. So you can see that those instructions are their own layer. The hello world text is its own layer. And I'm going to add one more layer up at the top here, and we're going to call this actions. All right. Now while I have that actions layer highlighted, I'm going to press the F9 key. You could also go to Window and choose Actions. I like to use the keyboard though. And in this Actions frame, I'm going to paste in some text here for you so you don't have to watch me type it all. We're going to put some code in here. So let me explain what these are. This first line of code adds an event listener. This is basically listening for this key down event, and it's saying when this happens, run this function that we've called function key down. That function key down is defined right here. It doesn't return anything, that's why this void is here. It passes in the event object, and then the body of the function does something. Now all we want it to do is go to the next frame. So this function is really simple. It runs this command go to and stop, and then that command takes a frame number. We could have just put in a frame number here, but there's this helpful object that has what current frame we're on, and we just add one to it so that it adds one to the frame. I'm also going to put this code back in, and I'm going to add a little bit of code here that checks for special keys. The control key this is a Boolean property, and if I put a exclamation in front of it, the way this reads is if the control key is not held down, go ahead and run this code. The reason for that is I don't want this code to run if user is holding down control or command, because those are some special keys that help me to toggle my application to full screen or to rewind the playback, so I don't want to mess with those. So there's it. That's our ActionScript code. I'm going to hit Apple S to save it. You could also go to File and say Save. And then I'm going to hit F9 again to hide that. And then I'm going to hit Option Command T to show my timeline. You could also show the timeline using your window timeline command. And now the timeline is showing back here, and now I'm interested in making this text here show up differently in every frame. Well, if you look down at the timeline, I only have one frame here, so this is not a very interesting movie right now. In fact, if I test it by hitting Option Command Enter, the movie just comes up and it looks like a static slide. There's nothing happening here, right? I can hit all sorts of keys and there's no dynamic things happening. So let me close that down. And what we can do is take this playback out to, let's see how many characters we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. We have about 12 characters. So I'm going to go out to frame 12. I'm going to go ahead and select all of the frames by holding Shift and just dragging down. And then I'm going to go to the Insert menu, Timeline, Frame. Notice you can always also press F5. And I'm going to extend these frames all the way out. Okay. Now, I'm only interested in changing this instructions frame. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the first frame here. I'm sorry, not the instructions, the hello world frame. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the first frame, which is a special kind of frame. It's called a keyframe, and I'm going to copy it. and then I'm going to paste it into the next frame. And I'm going to do that again by selecting the next frame. And this time, instead of saying copy paste, there is a do again command. I think it's in the edit menu. You can say repeat paste frames by hitting Command Y. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to hit Command Y a few times till that key frame is pasted all the way out here. Let's see if I can select multiple frames here. It looks like I can. And I'll hit Command Y, and it doesn't let me paste them though. So I'll keep pasting, Command Y, Command Y. That looks good. This one went a little far. Let's get rid of this frame. Okay, so now we've got Hello World in every single frame. And if I go back to the beginning, I can start building this project. So let's do a quick test here. So in the very beginning of my movie, I don't want any text here. So I'm going to delete that out. Got a blank screen, good. And I'll go to first frame 1. In frame 1, all I want is an H. Good. Frame 2, you get the idea here. HE, HEL, HELL, and so on and so forth. Let's test this out before I bore everybody too much. So hit Apple S to save things. Let me test it and see what happens here. So I'm going to press any key now. And you can see those keys start to show up. So if I just finish this now, HELL, HELLO. Sorry, you have to watch this. I know it's tedious. No, I won't do all of it there. You already saw the finished product. So now what I'd like to do is, remember you can test by doing Option Command Enter like that. You can also go to the control menu and just select Test. You can't test it by hitting this little play button down here. This is something that kind of confused me. If you hit play, it completely ignores your ActionScript. So play is just kind of for the timeline only. It's not doing anything with your ActionScript. You actually have to test your project in order to see the ActionScript working. Okay, so one final step in this tutorial. We got everything saved. We want to actually publish this thing as an application. So for that, you go up to the File menu. I'm going to choose Publish Settings. And I'm going to unselect everything except for this Mac projector and this Win projector. And we see our output name here is Starter. That's fine. Let's say Publish. Great, looks like it did that okay. You hide this window, and then in my Finder, let's go see where that went. I've got a couple new files here. You can see I've got Starter.exe, that's the Windows application, and I've got a Mac application just named Starter. We can see it's an application here when I highlight it, and if I double click on that, there's my little application. I'm going to make it full screen. You can either use that view menu to do full screen, or do like I like to do and just hit Apple F and then start typing. And you want to clean that up so that the last few characters show up like in my finished product. Hit Apple R to rewind to start over. Apple F to get back out of there. I'll show you that finished product one more time here. Apple F for full screen. Hello World. Apple R to rewind. Hello World. That's it. Hello World Playback using Adobe Animate.